Welcome back, guys, to another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about the film that is called Men. Men is written and directed by Alex Garland. You might recognize him from some kooky crazy films like that of Ex Machina, as well as Annihilation. It stars our protagonist, Jessie Buckley, as well as pretty much exclusively one other actor who would be Rory Kinnear. This film is about a woman who experiences some serious trauma and decides to kind of give herself a little bit of space to potentially process this trauma and give herself a little bit of peace and quiet. Well, this doesn't exactly go as planned, and some horrific, dreadful things start to happen to her, and we get to go through it with her. I'm a really big fan of Alex Garland movies. I really enjoyed Ex Machina as well as Annihilation. Both deal with really heavy themes that decide to kind of delve deep while being quite focused and wonderfully delivered on a science fiction plate. However, here we get a heady, non-science fiction theme-dense film that tries to address themes like birth, origins, historical meaning of gender roles, and grief, while all being chock-filled with biblical metaphors in the context of a horror movie. The acting from our two principal actors, especially our protagonist, Jessie Buckley, is sublime. We're with Jessie Buckley from the very beginning, and we really truly can empathize with her plight. Regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, you can really feel her position in everything that is happening and all of her discomfort. She has to kind of figure out a way to deal with all of this uneasiness in this seemingly town full of men. We're all played wonderfully by Rory Kinnear. He is terribly creepy and unnerving in all of the manifestations of his character. Beyond the acting, the cinematography is some of the best that I think I've seen in an Alex Garland film, and really helps us to focus on what we need to look at while also being quite nice to look at, and helps immensely to really develop the atmosphere. Speaking of, this film is very moody and manages to achieve some serious tension and some very creepy, potentially scary, and also quite uncomfortable moments throughout its runtime. However, that all being said, I would say that Men isn't quite on the same level as Garland's other filmography for me. And I can see that Alex Garland clearly had many ideas that he wished to paint onto the canvas of the screen with this screenplay. However, personally, I think it would have been better leaning into fewer ideas more deeply, or just not taking some of those themes quite as seriously. As I adored the build-up of the first 70% of this film had me on the edge of my seat. I was totally engaged and plugged in and wanted to see what was going to happen with the plight of our protagonist. However, in the last stretch, when it really starts to dig into those many different themes and kind of comes to this kind of crazy conclusion, it lost me a little bit on what it wanted to do and what was the end goal. Look, I don't believe any director, writer, artist needs to spoon-feed the audience with what they want to accomplish, and has the right to take their art and develop that story in any way, shape, or form, however perplexing or disturbing it might be. But also that means that I don't necessarily obviously have to, as an audience member, agree with those creative decisions. That being said, I did still enjoy large portions of Men, and I think this project is super ambitious and just does not give a damn about what you think about it. Both of our principal actors are fantastic, and large portions of this movie are utterly gorgeous. Still, I wonder what a different version of this film might have looked like with a potentially more focused and fine-tuned message, or leaning into those horror elements and making it more of a straightforward horror movie that maybe has a little bit more depth and counts to be a more, looks like the batteries went out, more elevated horror film like some of the ones we've seen in the past, say, 10 years or so, like Midsommar, Hereditary, The Lighthouse, The Witch, and so on. It is a film that I don't necessarily have the desire to rewatch in the short term, but I can imagine myself kind of revisiting it in the future in order to grab a different perspective. Men is definitely not for everyone. It is not just a broad recommendation for every single person to watch, but if you are an Alex Garland film fan, or somebody who likes to watch content that really makes them think and maybe makes their stomach turn a little bit, I would definitely highly recommend you check it out. Otherwise, just go focus on his first two films or rewatch his first two films. If you haven't seen them, then go check out Ex Machina and Annihilation. And then maybe if you enjoy those, give Men a chance. I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but I will give Men an 8 out of 10. Once again, guys, thank you so much for dropping by the channel, watching the video. Let me know what is your favorite Alex Garland film in the comments below. And always, if you do enjoy this, go ahead and like it, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next review.